Chapter 1 of Fenton's Quest. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Anna Simon. Fenton's Quest by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Chapter 1. The Common Fever. A warm summer evening, with a sultry haze brooding over the level landscape, and a Sabbath stillness upon all things in the village of Lidford, Midlandshire. In the remoter corners of the old Gothic church the shadows are beginning to gather, as the sermon draws near its close, but in the centre aisle and about the pulpit there is broad daylight still shining in from the wide western window, across the lower half of which there are tall figures of the evangelists in old stained glass. There are no choristers at Lidford, and the evening service is conducted in rather a drowsy way. But there is a solemn air of repose about the grey old church that should be conducive to tranquil thoughts and pious meditations. Simple and earnest have been the words of the sermon. Simple and earnest seem the countenances of the congregation, looking reverently upwards at the face of their pastor, and one might fancy, contemplating that grand old church, so much too spacious for the needs of the little flock gathered there tonight, that Lidford was a forgotten, half-deserted corner of this earth, in which a man, tired of the press and turmoil of the world, might find an almost monastic solitude and calm. So thought a gentleman in the squire's pew, a good-looking man of about 30, who was finishing his first Sunday at Lidford by devout attendance at evening service. He had been thinking a good deal about this quiet country life during the service, wondering whether it was not the best life a man could live after all, and thinking it all the sweeter because of his own experience, which had lain chiefly in cities. He was a certain Mr. Gilbert Fenton, an Australian merchant, and was on a visit to his sister, who had married the principal landowner in Lidford, Martin Lister, a man whose father had been called the Squire. The lady sat opposite her brother in the wide old family pew tonight, a handsome-looking matron, with a little rosy-cheeked damsel sitting by her side, a damsel with flowing auburn hair, tiny hat and feather, and bright scarlet stockings, looking very much as if she had walked out of a picture by Mr. Millais. The congregation stood up to sing a hymn when the sermon was ended, and Gilbert Fenton turned his face towards the opposite line of pews, in one of which, very near him, there was a girl, at whom Mrs. Lister had caught her brother looking very often during the service just concluded. It was a face that a man could scarcely look upon once without finding his glances wandering back to it afterwards. Not quite a perfect face, but a very bright and winning one. Large grey eyes, with a wonderful light in them, under dark lashes and darker brows, a complexion that had a dusky pallor, a delicate semi-transparent olive tint that one seldom sees out of a Spanish picture, a sweet rosy mouth, and a piquant little nose of no particular order, made up the catalogue of this young lady's charms. But in a face worth looking at there is always a something that cannot be put into words, and the brightest and best attributes of this face were quite beyond translation. It was a face one might almost call splendid. There was such a light and glory about it at some moments. Gilbert Fenton thought so tonight, as he saw it in the full radiance of the western sunlight, the lips parted as the girl sang, the clear grey eyes looking upward. She was not alone. A portly, genial-looking old man stood by her side, and accompanied her to the church porch when the hymn was over. Here they both lingered a moment to shake hands with Mrs. Lister, very much to Gilbert Fenton's satisfaction. They walked along the churchyard path together, and Gilbert gave his sister's arm a little tug, which meant, "Introduce me." "My brother, Mr. Fenton, Captain Sedgewick, Miss Nowell." The captain shook hands with Gilbert. "Delighted to know you, Mr. Fenton. Delighted to know anyone belonging to Mrs. Lister. You're going to stop down here for some time, I hope?" "I fear not for very long, Captain Sedgewick. I am a business man, you see, and can't afford to take a long holiday from the city." Mrs. Lister laughed. "My brother is utterly devoted to commercial pursuits," she said. "I think he believes every hour wasted that he spends out of his counting-house. And yet I was thinking in church this evening that a man's life might be happier in such a place as this, drifting away in a kind of dreamy idleness, than the greatest successes possible to commerce could ever make it." "You would very soon be tired of your dreamy idleness," answered his sister, "and sigh for your office and your club." "The country suits old people who have played their part in life and made an end of it," said the captain.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?